Hello and welcome to Finextra. I'm Hannah Wallace and today I'm joined by Jim Wadsworth from Vocalink. We're going to be talking about payments in the UK landscape. Jim, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
So firstly, match fit economy. It's the subject of your new report. Can you tell me, what does it have to do with payments?
The reason we've published this report is really a year ago the Chancellor of the Exchequer in his budget speech talked about the lead up to Brexit and the consequences thereafter, and he talked about the UK needing to become match fit, or the UK's economy needing to become match fit. Now, given Vocalink's role, where we, on behalf of the UK financial industry, run much of the bank account to bank account payments infrastructure and similar systems, we felt it was both appropriate and probably right for us to share some perspectives on how innovation and further usage of those payment systems could help with that government policy objective. So we've shared some ideas in a report we're launching. There's quite a lot of ideas in that document, and I won't talk about all of them today, but just a couple to call out. There's one area around financial inclusion and another around small business, really, which of course the latter being the engine room of the UK's economy. But in relation to financial inclusion, there's some research published recently by the University of Hertfordshire, which says that something like 5 million citizens now are part of the so-called gig economy. So that means irregular incomes or income from various different jobs or a mixture of job and benefit payments and so on, which means unpredictable income. Now, if you're having irregular income but your bills are turning up on a regular basis, for example, perhaps through direct debit, sometimes that doesn't work for those citizens, and we're starting to see some people even withdrawing from reusing regular financial systems. So one of the thoughts we've had is that a proposed new payment mechanism that isn't live yet but is being talked about, so-called request to pay, could help with that issue. Now that solution would mean that when I receive a bill, instead of it just kind of automatically being taken from my account, I'd have more control over when the money goes, and maybe I pay some this week and some next week and so on. So that request to pay type mechanism could be very advantageous for those sorts of members of society. Turning to small business, actually request to pay has relevance for them as well. Cash flow is king if you're a small business person, and so is time. So the ability to send out an electronic invoice with an embedded request to pay in it would make it easier for your customers to pay, but also by having the data flow with the payment, make it easier for the business person to reconcile their accounts at the weekend or whenever they check their balances and so on. As relevant though for small business is access to finance, access to credit, and that's often a problem in this country, and it's been talked about a lot. Won't go into detail today, but we also think that more use of analysis of their payment data history could well help with further evidencing their cash flow position and help them get access to credit.
And why is this issue so important now?
Clearly, Brexit is the topic of the day from a parliamentary perspective, but from a payments industry perspective, it's also a very important moment. There's been a lot of work going on over the last year or two to create something called the new payments architecture. That's now coming to a completion in terms of its design and is about to be handed over to a new entity called the New Payment Systems Operator, and that group will be responsible for taking it forward. Many of the ideas we've talked about in the report are reflected in that NPA, New Payments Architecture, but there are also things in there that we think are additive to the conversation. So we think it's right and appropriate for us to share those views.
And finally, taking all of this into account, where do you see the future of the payments landscape going?
I think the first thing to say is that the UK's payments industry and capabilities are regarded as world-class and world-leading in terms of the amount of innovation and so on that's happening. And from Vocalink's perspective, we know that because all the time we have other countries coming to talk to us to learn how they can take advantage of our experience, I guess, as they evolve and enhance their payment systems. So we're starting from a great base. That said, there is still absolutely plenty more that can be done. Consumer expectations, of course, continue to increase with further adoption of mobile technologies and so on. And the same applies to businesses' expectations. And now, especially that we're part of Mastercard, we've access to even more capability to further evolve that which we do. So, that's exciting, and we look forward to doing that. I guess from government's perspective, and one of the things we say in the report is that, you're calling out areas and ideas where government, both central and local, can make more use of the various payment system capabilities as they evolve. But I guess the other thing we're calling out is encouraging government to think about how the payments infrastructure and the payments industry as a whole can help it meet its policy objectives.
Jim, this has been great. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me today.
Delighted, thank you.
And thank you for watching.